On the auction stage, Master Imo Qing's hand gleamed with golden light, and soon a golden scroll appeared. The scroll looked incredibly ancient, as if it had been passed down from the ancient times, radiating an aura of wildness. The golden light swirled, and faintly, it seemed as though a dragon and an elephant were taking shape, exuding a majestic and overwhelming presence. Countless gazes were fixed tightly on the golden scroll, clearly sensing its extraordinary nature. Under the watchful eyes of many, Master Imo Qing gently raised the golden scroll in his hand, and his deep voice echoed across the hall. This is a technique derived from the ancient divine codex. Though somewhat incomplete, I have rated it as a semi-perfect level divine technique. However, it holds immense potential. If someone can truly comprehend its mysteries and successfully cultivate it, I believe its power could rival that of a perfect level divine technique, or even surpass it. Surpass a perfect level divine technique. Many people were shaken. Generally, a perfect level divine technique is considered a treasure of any sect, even in the most powerful forces across the continents. Only the highest echelons can cultivate it. Yet now, Master Imo Qing claimed that this technique, which was still only semi-perfect, might surpass a perfect level divine technique. Mu Chun, hearing this, was also a bit surprised, his brow furrowing slightly. He didn't overlook Master Imo Qing's statement that it could only be cultivated if someone truly understood its mysteries. Haha, Master Imo Qing, from your words, it seems this so-called semi-perfect level divine technique is not easy to cultivate. Just as Mu Chen thought this, a soft, enchanting voice rang out. It was the Heart Fox Fairy of the Celestial Fox sect, who was smiling and asking the question. Clearly, her sharp mind had picked up on something. Haha, the Heart Fox Fairy is perceptive. Imo Qing smiled slightly, then nodded and said, Indeed, this semi-perfect divine technique seems to have never been successfully cultivated by anyone. In my view, its cultivation is even more profound and unfathomable than that of a true perfect level divine technique. At this, the hall erupted in astonishment. This divine technique had never been successfully cultivated. However, they quickly realized that if someone could indeed cultivate this technique, its owner would likely never put it up for auction. Such a powerful technique would be a formidable weapon and trump card. Oh, Lu Ming also stood up with a smile, his eyes shining as he looked at the golden scroll. He chuckled. I've never encountered a divine technique I couldn't cultivate. I'm curious to see if I can master it today. Lu Ming had reached the first grade supreme level at such a young age, and although it was largely due to the extensive resources of the Shantian Palace, it also spoke to his innate talent. Hence, with his arrogance, he didn't believe there was a divine technique he couldn't master. Nearly all the eyes from the surrounding pavilions were now focused on him, clearly very interested. After all, if what Imo Qing said was true, and this technique had such terrifying potential, it would be of immense value to the forces behind them. This technique is called the 9 Dragons and 9 Elephants art. The auction price is 20,000 supreme spiritual liquid. Imo Qing's calm voice resonated through the hall. The steep price caused many faces to twitch in shock. Mu Chun could only helplessly curl his lips. He was indeed quite interested in this so-called 9 Dragons and 9 Elephants art, but clearly, he didn't have the strength to compete for it at this moment. At present, only those backed by top-tier forces had the financial power to contest it. Although the price of this divine technique was so high it made people hesitate, the competition for it was even fiercer than the previous items, as the great powers who had been hiding in the shadows until now were all making their moves. In a short time, the bidding voices in the auction hall were booming, and the constantly rising prices made many people eager, envious, and covetous. In just a few minutes, the price of the technique had already neared 30,000 supreme spiritual liquid. The bidding for the 9 Dragons and 9 Elephants art lasted for more than 10 minutes, gradually approaching its end. The final price had reached 32,000 drops of supreme spiritual liquid. This result left countless people in awe. It seemed that the primary goal of Lu Ming at this auction was to acquire the so-called 9 Dragons and 9 Elephants art. What surprised everyone was that the person who ultimately obtained this 9 Dragons and 9 Elephants art was, once again, Lu Ming from the Celestial Profound Hall. This outcome astonished countless people. It was clear that Lu Ming came to this auction specifically for the 9 dragons and 9 elephants art. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense for him to prepare such an enormous amount of supreme spiritual liquid. Chen also clicked his tongue in amazement. At this moment, he realized just how fortunate he was to have successfully bid for the void solar fruit earlier. Lu Ming's main target at this auction was obviously not that item. Had Lu Ming truly desired it, Chen probably wouldn't have been able to get his hands on the fruit. It all boiled down to his insufficient foundation. When Lu Ming raised the price to 32,000 drops of supreme spiritual liquid, no one else contested. Some of the powerful figures' expressions changed, and they chose to back off. In the pavilion with the sheer curtains, the Heart Fox Fairy of the Celestial Fox sect, Lu Ming's brows slightly furrowed as she said, Lu Ming really is willing to spend. Even the Celestial Profound Hall would likely feel the sting after parting with such an immense quantity of supreme spiritual liquid. He's a bit too confident, the middle-aged man behind her said with a faint smile. The 9 dragons and 9 elephants art is extremely strange, and ordinary people can't possibly cultivate it. Lu Ming may have some talent, but thinking he can successfully master it is far-fetched. In the younger generation of the Tianluo continent, Lu Ming can only be considered average. Compared to his older brother Lu Yan, he is still too green. Lu Yan is the next candidate for the Celestial Profound Hall's Hall Master, and he's well known on the Tianluo continent, the Heart Fox Fairy said with a charming smile. Miss, you are no weaker than him, the middle-aged man replied with a smile. The Heart Fox Fairy smiled sweetly, then her eyes turned towards the auction floor, landing on 9 Nether, who stood beside Chen. She softly murmured, "This woman is quite impressive too. At such a young age, she has already reached this stage. I wonder which force she belongs to. This matter, I'm sure Lu Ming will probe into," the middle-aged man said. Oh, the Heart Fox Fairy's eyebrows lightly arched, then she seemed to understand, smiling as she added, Lu Ming really isn't very magnanimous. I just wonder if this time, he'll run into trouble. As the two spoke, the auction had already concluded. The 9 dragons and 9 elephants art finally went to Lu Ming for the hefty price of 32,000 drops of supreme spiritual liquid. When the bell rang, everyone in the auction hall let out a soft sigh, some gazing enviously at Lu Ming, who had made such a significant gain. Lu Ming, basking in the envious stares, couldn't help but smile proudly. He enjoyed being the center of attention, relishing the feeling of being looked up to, as it made him feel uniquely special. While Lu Ming reveled in the spotlight, Chen stood up with a calm expression, not even bothering to glance towards that direction. He turned and walked away with 9 Nether and Lin Jing. Lu Ming watched their retreating figures, a cold gleam flashing in his eyes. His slender fingers gently traced the armrest of his jade chair, and instantly, the armrest was split open, the breaks smooth as a mirror. Elder Mu, send someone to follow them. I want to know their every move. Although we can't make a move in Commerce City, as soon as they leave, I'll make sure they understand that some people are not to be trifled with, Lu Ming said indifferently. Behind him, the elder in black slowly nodded. Lu Ming smiled and turned his attention to the Heart Fox Fairy, who had just walked out of the pavilion. Her graceful figure and stunning curves made his heart stir. He immediately walked toward her with a wide grin. Chen, along with 9 Nether and Lin Jing, left the auction hall and completed the item exchanges. He took the items he had won earlier, including the void solar fruit. Standing in the private room where the auction items were collected, Chen looked at the fruit in his hand, which resembled a blazing sun. He exhaled in relief. No matter what, he had secured another material. Now, if he could obtain the immortal divine leaf, he would be able to truly cultivate the great sun indestructible body. He was eager to see just how powerful this supreme Dharma body, which required such rare treasures to cultivate, would be. Here, for you. Lin Jing grinned as she took it, her beautiful face lighting up with joy. Despite her status and being accustomed to countless treasures, this one was something she had earned on her own. Thanks, she said with a cheerful smile. I'm the one who got the better deal, Chen replied with a smile. The protective spirit jade that Lin Jing had given him was far more valuable than this heavenly fire jade marrow. But we might have to part ways soon. Mu Chun looked at Lin Jing, knowing that a fierce battle was approaching, and if she stayed with them, she could be in danger. Lin Jing shook her head and smiled. We're friends, aren't we? Would a friend run away when the other is in trouble? Mu Chun was stunned for a moment. He looked at the smiling face of the young girl before him, and eventually smiled back. Then let's stick together. If we fail, we'll escape together. After the auction, Mu Chun didn't rush to leave the commerce city. Instead, he found a cultivation inn to temporarily settle down. Since a great battle was approaching, he needed to recover to his peak condition. The exhaustion from the nonstop journey had to be cleared away. In the spacious guest room, Mu Chun sat cross-legged. Nether stood by the window, her beautiful eyes looking outside. After a while, she turned and looked at Mu Chun. Someone is following us. It's probably someone sent by Lu Ming. Mu Chun nodded slightly. The Lu family has always been troublesome. Back in the northern spirit realm, the Lu family had caused him a lot of trouble. However, just as Mu Chun finished speaking, he saw Lin Jing standing with her hands on her hips, glaring at him, and shaking her small fist at him. My grandmother's surname is Lu. Mu Chun immediately felt awkward. Lin Jing snorted lightly. If my father hears you say that, he'll definitely give you a good beating. Mu Chun gave a dry laugh, realizing he was in trouble for no reason. When are we leaving? Lin Jing didn't seem to mind Mu Chun's offhand comment. She sat down beside him, resting her hand on her cheek, excitedly asking. Judging by her expression, she seemed eager to face whatever trouble lay ahead. No rush, Mu Chun said with a smile. Right now, every move we make is probably under Lu Ming's watch. If we stay in the city too long without leaving, he'll think we're scared. Showing weakness to the enemy. How cunning, Lin Jing smiled slyly. We're weak, so we can't help but be a little sneaky, Mu Chun chuckled. Then, his expression turned serious as he looked at Lin Jing. You should know that Lu Ming's strength far surpasses ours. While we've both reached the supreme realm, we haven't cultivated our supreme Dharma bodies, so our combat power is significantly reduced. As for Nether, she can at most hold off as 5th-grade supreme. So, if things go wrong, you must leave, no matter what. Lin Jing wasn't too happy to hear that, but after seeing Mu Chun's serious expression, she pouted. Fine. Mu Chun smiled and nodded, closing his eyes to enter a state of cultivation. Nether, after talking to Lin Jing, leaned against the window, closing her eyes for a nap. She didn't enter cultivation mode, as she knew that no matter how safe the city seemed, she had to stay vigilant. She was very aware of the dangers in the Great Thousand Worlds. As for Lin Jing, she covered her mouth with one hand, yawning, and lazily fell asleep, looking as though she didn't care about the dangers ahead. The night passed quietly. The next day, Mu Chun remained still, waiting until the sun began to set. At this time, most people would be easing their guard with the changing of day to night, so he decided it was the best time to quietly leave the inn with Nether and Lin Jing, blending into the crowd as they headed out of the city. As they left the inn, a young, feminine-looking man holding a cup of tea on a pavilion rooftop in the city suddenly curled his lips into a cold smile. He waved his hand, sending away the maid who had been softly massaging him, and stood up. His cold, sharp gaze focused on the city gates. What a naive kid, he sneered. You really think you can slip out of my grasp like this? He smirked, and with a wave of his hand, an old man in a black robe appeared behind him like a ghost. The black-robed elder gave a slight nod, his expression indifferent. The space around the two of them rippled subtly, and their figures gradually faded into the air. Just as they vanished, in another courtyard within the city, Heart Fox Fairy, who was cradling a pure white fox in her arms, suddenly smiled, revealing a captivating and enchanting expression. Well, this is going to be quite the show. She gently placed the white fox down, and then turned toward the back, smiling. Let's go. We should secretly take a look too. I have a feeling that Lu Ming won't have it so easy this time. Behind her, a plain-looking middle-aged man silently emerged. Then, with a slight movement, both of them vanished into thin air. 3 groups, quietly disappearing, quietly leaving the city, without alarming anyone. The setting sun, tinged with a faint crimson hue, hung low on the horizon, its fiery glow casting a red-tinged light over the land, carrying a slight chill in the air. Whoosh! A sharp whistling sound suddenly pierced through the dim red sky. 3 streaks of light shot across the heavens, tearing through the air at astonishing speed, heading toward the distance. They seemed to have pushed their speed to the extreme, as if desperately escaping from some unseen pursuers behind them. For nearly half an hour, they maintained their full-speed flight before gradually slowing down. Finally, the 3 figures descended onto a mountain peak. Chen lifted his gaze, looking toward the sky behind them. A smile suddenly appeared on his lips. "You two have been sneakily following us for half the day. Aren't you tired? Haha, so you knew all along." As Chen's voice faded, a cold and sinister voice echoed through the heavens and earth. In the distance, on another mountain peak, space rippled slightly, and 2 figures materialized out of thin air like ghosts. It was none other than Ming of the Celestial Profound Hall, along with the black-robed elder whose strength had reached the level of a 5th-grade supreme. Ming's gaze carried a playful amusement as he studied Chen. Then, he swept his eyes over the surroundings and smirked. "You've chosen quite the burial ground for yourself. And how do you know this place wasn't prepared for you?" Chen responded with a smile. Yet, within his dark eyes, a chilling light was steadily gathering. "You're quite confident, aren't you?" Ming chuckled and said, "If you think having a beauty at your side who's only at the 4th-grade supreme level gives you the right to be this confident, I'm afraid you'll be sorely disappointed." He extended a hand toward Chen. "Hand over the void solar fruit. If your attitude pleases me before I completely lose my temper, perhaps I'll let you live." Chen didn't answer. Instead, he casually asked, "Do you still have the immortal divine leaf and the 9 dragons and 9 elephants art with you?" The smile on Ming's face finally faded bit by bit. His expression turned cold as he locked eyes with Chen. "You've just given up your only chance. You sure talk a lot." Chen chuckled. Puffed. Lin Jing, standing at the side, covered her mouth as she laughed, showing no mercy in mocking Ming. "Elder Mu, do it." Ming's eyelids drooped slightly, the corner of his lips curving into a sinister smirk. "No need to hold back." The black-robed elder behind him took a slow step forward. The hands hidden within his sleeves gradually lowered, and his aged face suddenly emanated an icy chill. Boom! A terrifying storm of spiritual energy erupted from within him. The dark, eerie spiritual energy swept across the land, instantly causing the temperature to plummet. This elder's spiritual energy carried an extreme, bone-chilling cold. The mountain beneath him trembled violently under the crushing force of his spiritual energy. Large cracks rapidly spread across its surface, and in mere moments, the entire mountain peak began to collapse. Just the sheer pressure of his spiritual energy alone was enough to make the mountain crumble. The power of a 5th-grade supreme was truly fearsome. Chen's gaze grew serious as he took in the scene. This was the first time he was facing a 5th-grade supreme head-on, and the strength on display was indeed overwhelming. Beside him, 9 Nether took a light step forward. A vast surge of spiritual energy erupted from her body, distorting the space around her. In the next moment, an enormous black sparrow materialized in the sky above, its colossal form blotting out the heavens. A violet flame quietly burned across its vast body. "No wonder you're so confident. It turns out your true form is a divine beast," the elder in the black robe said, staring at the 9 Nether, his voice raspy. Generally speaking, a 4th-grade supreme would not dare to challenge a 5th-grade supreme. The gap between the 2 grades is enormous. However, if it's a divine beast, the situation changes. With the strength of its physical body and some inherent advantages, powerful divine beasts are generally stronger than human cultivators of the same level. Ming furrowed his brow at this moment. Then, he took a step forward, his cold gaze locking onto Chen. "Elder Mu, suppress her. I'll deal with this brat myself." The black-robed elder nodded. Although he hadn't expected the woman before him to be transformed from a divine beast, there was still a 1-grade difference between them. While killing her might be a little troublesome, suppressing her wouldn't be too difficult. "I don't sense the fluctuation of a supreme Dharma body from you, so I assume you haven't cultivated your supreme Dharma body yet, right?" Ming said indifferently, his gaze fixed on Chen. Chen didn't respond. "Such a pity. You'll never be able to cultivate it successfully," Ming sighed with a hint of regret. Then, he slammed his foot down, and his eyes instantly turned fierce. "However, before you die, I'll let you witness the true power of the supreme Dharma body. Boom. A vast surge of spiritual energy shot up to the sky, blocking out the sun. Crimson spiritual energy gathered violently around Lu Ming, and eventually, it transformed into a towering crimson giant that reached nearly 1,000 feet in height. The figure, engulfed in flames, resembled a lava giant descending from the sky. The temperature in this world surged with it. Heavenly flame Dharma body. The giant silhouette, burning with crimson flames, stood between heaven and earth as if it could melt the very ground. A violent, scorching windstorm swept across the surroundings. Lu Ming's figure had completely disappeared into the crimson giant. Once the supreme Dharma body was activated, it formed a perfect protective shield, surrounding him within. The supreme Dharma body is a perfect fusion of offense and defense. This is why all supremes pursue it so fervently. The crimson giant's eyes slowly opened, flames swirling within them. At the same time, Lu Ming's voice, filled with killing intent, echoed through the heavens and earth. Do you now understand what true despair feels like? The supreme Dharma body is incredibly important for enhancing the combat strength of supreme-level cultivators. So, when Lu Ming learned that Chen hadn't cultivated his supreme Dharma body, all his previous caution vanished. The supreme Dharma body he cultivated, named the Heavenly Flame Dharma body, ranked 97 out of the 99 supreme Dharma bodies. Though it was ranked at the bottom, anyone who underestimated it would be making a grave mistake. In the Great Thousand Worlds, anyone who could attain one of the 99 supreme Dharma bodies was immensely powerful. After all, the methods for cultivating a supreme Dharma body were top secrets in any sect or force, never to be casually shared. Thus, many supreme cultivators only had access to the most basic methods for cultivation. Some even had to use ordinary techniques, relying solely on their spiritual energy to refine the supreme Dharma body. Such bodies would lack the divine power unique to other, rare Dharma bodies. For example, the Heavenly Flame Dharma body that Lu Ming had cultivated required a perfect fusion of his own spiritual energy and the assistance of Heavenly Flame to succeed. Only when the two forces combined perfectly could the cultivation be completed. Some of the more powerful supreme Dharma bodies possess the terrifying ability to fight above their level. Thus, in Lu Ming's view, once he realized that Chen had not yet cultivated his supreme Dharma body, this battle already had an unshakable outcome. Heavenly Flame Dharma body, huh? Chen, at this moment, also looked up, his gaze growing solemn as he stared at the crimson giant standing between heaven and earth. It was clear that Lu Ming wasn't just all talk. He indeed possessed immense strength. With such a powerful supreme Dharma body, he would undoubtedly be a top contender even among first-grade supremes. Can we handle this? Nine Nether's beautiful eyes looked at Chen, a trace of worry flickering in her gaze. She had originally thought that Lu Ming had only cultivated a regular supreme Dharma body, but she hadn't expected that he had actually perfected the Heavenly Flame Dharma body. You just need to hold off that old man. And even if we fail, at worst, we escape together. Be careful. The Nine Nether Soul Sparrow nodded slightly. She didn't say much more. Her beautiful, narrow eyes gleamed with cold light, and in the next instant, her delicate figure moved. She appeared atop the black giant sparrow and swiftly sped off into the distance. The old man in black saw this and simply gave a faint smile. His figure trembled, and he vanished into thin air. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the Nine Nether Soul Sparrow. As he waved his sleeve, a storm surged across the heavens and earth. While Nine Nether Soul Sparrow and the old man in black faced off, Chen focused all his attention on the crimson giant shadow before him. This was his first time relying solely on his own strength to battle against a true supreme-level expert. Be careful yourself. Chen spoke to Lin Jing before his figure exploded into motion. He floated in midair, and with a forceful stamp of his foot, the space behind him twisted. In the distortion, a vast ocean seemed to appear. Within the ocean, a mighty surge of purple spiritual energy roared to life. Let me show you the true power of a supreme Dharma body. The supreme Dharma body, transformed from Lu Ming, stretched out a massive hand. The crimson fingers pointed downward. Boom. As the finger pressed down, the space seemed to warp, and a crimson light pillar, hundreds of feet tall, shot out. The pillar was thick and viscous, resembling magma, with crimson flames rising from it, exuding a violent fury. This was just a casual move from Lu Ming, yet its power was far more terrifying than Ji Xian's full-strength strike from before. This was the true power of a cultivated supreme Dharma body. Mu Chen looked up, his eyes locked onto the incoming magma light pillar. He took a deep breath, his robe flapping in the wind, producing a sound like thunder. His expression hardened. He waved his sleeve, and from the twisted space behind him, a torrent of purple light surged forward. A dazzling purple beam swept through the air and collided head-on with the crimson spiritual energy. Boom! The two forces clashed, and a thunderous roar filled the air. A spiritual energy hurricane burst forth, and the ground below cracked open, forming enormous fissures. In the sky, Mu Chen stood against the wind, his body shrouded in a radiant purple glow. In his dark eyes, violet flames burned. By relying on his own formidable spiritual energy, he had managed to withstand Lu Ming's attack. You actually blocked my heavenly flame spiritual energy? The crimson giant shadow's eyes flashed with surprise. It was clear that Lu Ming found this result hard to believe. His own cultivated spiritual energy, infused with the heavenly flame, far surpassed ordinary supreme-level energy, and it was supposed to be domineering. Yet now, it was blocked by Mu Chen. So your spiritual energy is a bit strange. However, Lu Ming's sharp eyes soon noticed something odd in the purple spiritual energy surrounding Mu Chen. The rising purple flames seemed to suppress even the heavenly flame in his own energy. On a distant mountain peak, two figures suddenly appeared. A charming woman, draped in a white fox fur, gazed at the distant clash. A hint of surprise flashed in her peach blossom eyes as she murmured, "That young man's spiritual energy seems a bit unusual. He must have merged it with a very powerful flame," the middle-aged man beside her said, his tone carrying a touch of astonishment. No wonder he's daring to challenge Lu Ming even without cultivating a supreme Dharma body. He certainly has some skill. It's too early to make conclusions. Lu Ming's heavenly flame Dharma body is not just any ordinary supreme Dharma body. The charming woman smiled. The middle-aged man nodded in agreement. As they spoke, Mu Chen suddenly shot up from the ground, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared right in front of the crimson giant shadow. His heavenly spirit burst forth, and crimson light soared into the sky. An astonishing aura of murderous intent filled the air. "I not only block your heavenly flame spiritual energy, but I will also shatter your heavenly flame Dharma body." The great Xun'er demon pillar appeared from the crimson light, swelling in size until it reached 100 feet tall, standing like an ancient beast in the sky. Mu Chen clasped his hands together, then swung the great Xun'er demon pillar with all his might. Without hesitation, he brought it crashing down toward the heavenly flame Dharma body. The force was so immense that even space itself seemed to crack with tiny fissures. With Mu Chen's current strength, combined with the power of the great Xun'er demon pillar, the attack was terrifying beyond belief. Such a strike even made the Heart Fox Fairy and her companion, watching from afar, feel a bit shaken. The Crimson Flame Colossus let out a chilling snort from its mouth. With a powerful grip of its giant fist, crimson flames swept forward, transforming into an enormous fire spear. The spear tore through the sky, bringing with it a raging sea of fire, and collided fiercely with the great Xun'er demon pillar. Clang! The sound of gold and iron clashing rang out like thunder, and the sound waves spread like a storm, whipping up violent gusts of wind across the land. Mu Chen's figure was sent flying, each of his footfalls causing the air beneath to explode. As he was blasted backward, the Crimson Flame Colossus also staggered a step back, crushing a mountain beneath its feet. Such incredible power. From a distance, the middle-aged man couldn't help but speak. He clearly hadn't expected that Mu Chen could stand his ground against Lu Ming, who had activated the supreme Dharma body, with nothing but his own strength. This young man is quite extraordinary, the Heart Fox Fairy remarked, a flash of surprise crossing her beautiful eyes. The Crimson Flame Colossus, formed by Lu Ming, had fire burning in its eyes. The next moment, it stomped its foot, causing the ground to crack apart, and its massive body moved with the speed of lightning. The crimson flames in the sky now looked like a burning cloud, enveloping the heavens. It was clear that Ming had fully activated the power of his heavenly flame Dharma body. Faced with Chen's resistance, he had already become enraged. You dare try to oppose my supreme Dharma body with your own strength? How foolish. Ming's dark voice echoed like thunder, and then the crimson spear transformed into countless spear shadows that spread across the sky, carrying a surging sea of fire, covering Chen's position. Within a radius of several thousand meters, the terrifying assault engulfed everything in its path. Chen looked at the overwhelming spear shadows, each one seemingly made of solid matter. The power contained in each shadow was enough to tear the earth apart and crush mountains. His expression grew increasingly serious, and he quickly formed seals with both hands. Boom! The sound of thunder rang out as brilliant lightning flickered across Chen's body, and his form swelled slightly. 9 thunder runes appeared on his chest, more solid and condensed than ever, almost like a tangible substance. Let me see. The lightning flickered around his body, and his black eyes grew colder and sharper. He licked his lips, the curve of his mouth filled with battle intent. Just how powerful is this supreme Dharma body? Chen held the great Xun'er demon pillar in his hands, charging forward without hesitation. Violet lightning and flames surrounded him, his figure dwarfed by the vast sea of fire, like an ant amidst a fiery storm. But within him burned an indomitable fighting spirit that no one could underestimate. The first battle of my great 1,000 worlds starts with you. The crimson flames swept across the sky, threatening to set the heavens themselves ablaze. Within the sea of fire, a massive fire spear shot toward him, its furious and searing energy spreading through the heavens and earth. The attack was terrifying beyond measure. However, despite facing such an overwhelming force, Chen showed no signs of retreating. With both hands holding the great Xun'er demon pillar, he charged forward, a surging violet spiritual energy rising from him. He swung the pillar, smashing through the fire spear shadows. Bang! Bang! A deafening clash echoed through the sky, as the massive fire spear shadows shattered with each strike. Chen's figure, tiny beneath the vast sea of fire, was still unyielding, with every smash of the great Xun'er demon pillar sending shockwaves through the flames. The sea of fire spread, and with each broken spear shadow, Chen was knocked back a step. But he showed no signs of dodging, instead continuing to clash head-on, impressing all who watched. Below, Jing watched with her mouth slightly agape, her beautiful and agile eyes filled with astonishment as she observed the young man retreating in the sea of fire, yet his battle spirit only growing stronger. The young man was not much older than her, yet the fiery will within him seemed like it could never be extinguished, no matter what oppression he faced. It was as if, even standing before an immovable mountain, he would never retreat. Such unyielding determination was truly remarkable. This boy, he may prove to be a formidable opponent in the future. The middle-aged man, who had been watching the battle from afar, suddenly spoke. I don't know his background, but I'm certain that for someone of his age to achieve such feats, he must rely on his own strength. A young powerhouse relying on family resources would never possess such battle intent or spirit. Hearing the middle-aged man's assessment, the Heart Fox Fairy gently bit her red lips, her beautiful eyes staring at the figure stepping back in the sea of fire. The Heart Fox Fairy slightly nodded her head. Boom! The great Xun'er demon pillar swung down heavily, its terrifying power once again shattering a spear shadow that was fiercely sweeping towards him. The rebound force made Chen's arms tremble, and blood began to drip from his palms. He staggered back 2 steps, and then stomped heavily, stabilizing his body. The lightning on his body flickered wildly. His face remained calm, but his eyes showed a serious expression. After the previous collision, he had truly realized how formidable the heavenly flame Dharma body was. If it weren't for his Thunder God body having reached the 9-rune Thunder body level, the repeated hard clashes would likely have left him seriously injured. Even so, his internal blood and energy were still surging uncontrollably. In the sky, a giant shadow burning with crimson flame hovered in midair. Lu Ming's eyes were fixed on Mu Chen, his gaze flashing with a cold, chilling light. His expression was somewhat gloomy. Clearly, Mu Chen's ability to withstand his attacks for so long had caught him off guard. No wonder you're so confident. Turns out you do have some ability. The crimson flame giant shadow looked down at Mu Chen, who appeared like an ant in comparison, and Lu Ming's cold voice rumbled like thunder. Mu Chen's expression remained calm as he looked up at the oppressive giant shadow and smiled. But your supreme Dharma body doesn't seem as terrifying as I imagined. Is that so? Lu Ming's voice carried a hint of sarcasm, but he didn't say much more. His enormous palm suddenly formed a seal, and as the seal changed, the crimson flames surged, engulfing everything in sight and condensing in his palm. An extremely intense and violent wave of heat spread out. Try taking this, then. The heavenly flame Dharma body's eyes shot out a cold glare, and with a fierce motion, he slapped down. In an instant, heavenly fire spread, and the space itself distorted. A flame palm seal, nearly covering half the sky, shot down like a meteor. Heavenly flame burning sea palm. The palm slammed down, and the ground below immediately collapsed. Mountains were flattened, forests turned to ashes, and the power was overwhelmingly destructive. Mu Chen's face slightly changed. He quickly retreated, and in that instant, his hands formed seals as fast as lightning. With a flick of his sleeve, a vast green light surged out, transforming the ground into a vast forest of black thorny vines. Would God's nerve, Mu Chen muttered to himself. The black thorny forest instantly transformed into countless green beams, soaring into the sky before converging towards Mu Chen, forming a massive green ocean that radiated with vitality. Heavenly would divine wheel. Mu Chen's hand seal shifted again, and the green ocean began to spin rapidly, eventually forming an enormous verdant wood ring. With a snap of his fingers, the ring vanished into thin air, leaving behind a long black trace in the space ahead. Whoosh! The speed of the verdant wood ring was indescribable. In the blink of an eye, it appeared beneath the crimson flame giant palm, and without hesitation, clashed head-on. Upon impact, there was no massive explosion, but the rapidly rotating verdant wood ring displayed an astonishing penetrating force. In a single touch, it pierced through the crimson flame giant palm and continued towards the heavenly flame Dharma body. Get lost! A cold shout came from the heavenly flame Dharma body as its massive fist swung out, carrying a terrifying sea of flames, and struck the verdant wood ring with all its might. Creak! Creak! The ear-piercing sounds rang out as the verdant wood ring and the heavenly flame Dharma body's giant fist clashed. The two forces collided, warping the surrounding space. Roar! The standoff ignited Lu Ming's fury. Mu Chen's repeated defenses had been a huge insult to him. His eyes blazed with intense flames, and soon, crimson flames enveloped his massive body. Like a fire dragon, the flames surged out, wrapping the verdant wood ring. Boom! Faced with such a violent attack, the verdant wood ring could no longer resist. It shattered completely, consumed by the flames, and turned into nothingness. Boom! Having gained the upper hand, Lu Ming didn't give Mu Chen a moment's respite. Mu Chen's figure retreated once again, waves of powerful purple spiritual energy sweeping out, attempting to block the crimson fire dragon. However, the latter's momentum was unstoppable, burning through everything in its path. At this moment, Lu Ming had evidently activated the full power of the heavenly flame Dharma body. Boom! The crimson fire dragon moved at lightning speed. Mu Chen dodged a few times, but eventually could retreat no longer. The fire dragon surged forward, crashing heavily into his spirit-infused body. Bang! Mu Chen's body was struck as if by a heavy blow, plummeting downwards and crashing forcefully into the ground. The earth itself collapsed beneath him. Not so impressive now, huh? Want to try again? Seeing Mu Chen finally injured, Lu Ming sneered coldly. He looked at the shattered earth, a murderous gleam flashing in his eyes. Yet, he showed no signs of stopping. With a swift motion of his hand, a massive fire spear materialized, and with a whoosh, it pierced through the air, heading straight for the collapsing ground. Whoosh! Just as the enormous fire spear was about to strike the shattered earth, a graceful figure suddenly appeared in midair. She formed a seal with her slender jade-like hands, and a tremendous surge of spiritual energy erupted, coalescing into a massive water shield before her. The surface of the shield rippled like flowing water, swirling in a vortex. Flowing water shield. Bang! The fire spear collided violently with the water shield, triggering a massive shockwave. However, most of the force was absorbed by the swirling vortex on the shield's surface. As the fire spear dissipated, Lin Jing's delicate body trembled slightly, and the water shield exploded with a loud bang, clearly reaching its limit. Oh, another one who hasn't perfected the supreme Dharma Body. But this time, I won't hold back. Lu Ming's eyes gleamed coldly, and with a sweep of his hand, a series of massive fire spears took shape once again, shooting down towards her. Lin Jing glared at the incoming assault, her teeth gritted, but she didn't retreat. Taking a deep breath, she opened her mouth slightly, and to everyone's surprise, a vast blue river poured out from her, radiating immense spiritual energy. The river was peculiar. Its energy was akin to spiritual power, yet carried the aura of a divine artifact. The azure river spiraled around Lin Jing, forming a perfect barrier around her. Boom, boom. The fire spears tore through the air one after another, relentlessly smashing into the river, causing towering waves to erupt. With each brutal impact, Lin Jing's face became slightly paler. Bang! When the final fire spear was absorbed by the river, it flickered dimly before turning into water, flowing back into Lin Jing's mouth. Her icy face lifted, her gaze locking onto the heavenly flame Dharma Body, and she scoffed. "Is that all you've got? I wonder how long you can keep this up." Lu Ming sneered, his eyes filled with killing intent. Lin Jing's abilities had caught him off guard, but with the supreme Dharma Body, he was confident they were no match for him. She was merely resisting in vain. However, just as Lu Ming was about to strike, his expression suddenly tightened. His gaze snapped downward, locking onto the area where the earth had collapsed,